Well, it seems like everywhere you turn these days, there is someone new sporting a tattoo and, of course, very proud of it. It wasn't so long ago that many tattoos were hidden from public inspection. Now, the world itself invoked fear and fascination and seemed to spring from other worlds surrounded in mystery. So what has changed in the public perception? Here to explain the personal fascination with body art is Lynn Buckner of Old Soul Gallery. Good morning, Lynn.
Hello.
How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me.
So tell me a little bit first about your background in the art of tattooing.
I started tattooing in 2005. I've been in the body art industry as a whole since 2000. It started when I was working, getting an undergrad degree in anthropology. Yeah.
All right, so a cool little background behind that too.
Yeah.
All right, so talk to me about what you think has changed, through the decades as it's becoming, not too long ago, if someone had a tattoo, they had to cover it up at the workplace, and that's not so common anymore.
It's true. It's an evolution of culture, really. A lot of the things that pushed tattooing into the underground to begin with were just sort of fear-based paradigms. It was an ancient art and a modern culture, and people really didn't know how to blend those things effectively. And so it got pushed in the underground, where it really thrived for a long time and eventually made its way to the mainstream. In the 80s and 90s, you had a lot of influx of really talented artists that came into the tattoo industry, people that were painters and illustrators and very talented artists in their own right. And that really kind of created a groundswell of interest in tattooing as an art form. And then, as controversial as they can be in our own industry, like you can't really deny the impact of reality television shows and tattooing, which started probably around 2005 or so, 2004. It really, for the first time, showed people could have an inside glimpse at a world that had previously been kind of taboo and subversive, and people saw what real high-quality work looked like, and how the process worked, and how to go about getting a good tattoo, and some of the personalities involved, and how these weren't just dark archetypes, but these were just silly, creative people that were doing great art.
Right, and talk a little bit about the artist evolution as well. Like you mentioned, it has become a very, very true art form, and I know I admire a good tattoo because of the art that goes into that. I'm assuming these are a couple pieces of your work, and that's exquisite. So talk to me about the evolution of the artists themselves.
There's a lot of tattooing, having been underground for so long, was a very, very secretive thing for a long time, and it was really hard to get into the trade. And as it grew in popularity, you had more and more artists who had actually fine art backgrounds. People who 50 years ago, 100 years ago would have been fine art painters or sculptors were getting into the tattoo industry because it was a very viable way to make an income as an artist. And that's ultimately what you want as a creative person, is to make money doing your art. So it really appealed to a lot of people, and it's just gotten better and better and better. And there's a real push for education within the industry, like tattooers educating one another on techniques and practices, and it's really just, the millennials have really embraced tattooing, and it seems to be here to stay.
And talk a little bit about the history. You alluded to the history of the art previously, but I think a lot of our viewers don't really know the true history. Do you want to talk about that?
Tattooing is ancient. People have been marking their bodies since we were people, and a lot of pockets in the South Pacific and in Asia. These practices were done for countless centuries, and its transference into America was a lot through like sailors who would go off to ports and get tattooed in these distant locations and come back with these sort of souvenirs of their journeys. A lot of tattooing is based around that, around storytelling and marking your journey and certain transitions in your life, and that's a really impactful part of it.
And now, you mentioned you have a background in anthropology, so what brought you into this industry?
I've always been fascinated by culture, and in my late teen years and early adulthood, I got really into culture and just sort of tribal culture and shamanism and things like that, and these cultures where tattooing was like a really integral part of their culture. And had a lot more meaning than maybe sometimes it even does today. There was very specific reasons they did tattooing then, for tribal affiliation, clan affiliation, to mark status or rank, things like that. and you still see some of those lingering in our culture, you know. But some people just get tattoos because they like the way they look on them, and it's more of just an expression of what's inside them. It's ultimately, in its purest form, tattooing is an outward expression of who you are on the inside.
Right.
And so it's a good illustration of that.
And I was going to say, since you mentioned that, a lot of times still people get tattoos to tell a story, which goes back to its original roots, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, so where do we need to get in contact with you? If we have any questions about maybe we've been thinking about getting a tattoo, does it hurt? Of course, somebody probably asks that every time. How do we get in touch with you?
Yeah, many artists now, including myself, the easiest way is usually email. People have websites, and so you can go, and a lot of studios will have a contact form on their website, and you can kind of start the process that way and touch base with your artist and set up a time to meet with them. That's usually the easiest way. If you just drop by, a lot of times artists will be working and can't give you their full attention.
Right.
So set up a consultation so you can meet with them and really express your idea, and they can give you their full undivided attention.
All right, so we have your phone number and your website and your address on the screen. Do you want to give your email out as well, or do you just want people to go to your website?
It's oldsoulgallery@gmail.com. It's the contact form. If you fill it out, it'll take you right to my main email.
All right, perfect. Lynn, thanks so much for educating us on the background of this wonderful art.
Yeah, absolutely.
If anyone has any questions, or if you are or have been considering getting a tattoo, then give Lynn a call. He can help you out. We'll be right back on Let's Chat.